Welcome to Mother of Mammals podcast with your host, Bria. Today, I'm really excited to have a special guest on, Ayana, who is a fellow homeschooling mum. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Ayana and I are here to reflect as two homeschooling mums what our school experience was. Ayana and I met at 11 years old
Mhm.
in secondary school.
Yeah.
So had very similar, but also probably very different school experiences.
Yeah.
And we both seem to have gone into a similar route with our beliefs about the school system. So yeah, I'm excited for us to sit and chat about our personal old school days and how that shaped us choosing to not have our children, if all, maybe some, in school. Well, would you like to give us a quick introduction, Ayana?
Hi, Ayana. As Bria said, yeah, we used to go to school together. And what's interesting is my homeschooling journey with my son. It was something I never actually thought of. And my experience in school didn't impact that decision. I just feel it was something I was forced into doing because of what I experienced with my son from nursery until his first, 2 years in primary school. So my school life growing up, within my home, my mum just did the best she could. She didn't really push for school. We was just
Yeah.
where we turned and we went to. Learning wasn't a big thing either. My mum never used to check if we're doing our homework or anything. We just literally got by and got through. And
And what I can remember, like homework didn't seem as militant then
that's
as it does
true. It wasn't.
now.
But then I had a couple friends that didn't go to our school, but I remember listening and hearing them taking school serious, like getting good grades and stuff. And that just wasn't something that meant anything. And you could even say there was a couple of people in our class, a mutual friend that we share actually, Bria,
Mhm.
took school quite serious to a
Yeah,
point like pride in his work, little things, but I think that's instilled in you from home.
from home, yeah.
I think it
Def-
is.
yeah, that's a really good point. Like to me, school was just somewhere that I went.
That's it.
My parents were very casual about it. Like I had to go.
Yeah,
Like there wasn't like, oh yeah, you can stay home today. Like
exactly.
that wasn't an option. But yeah, I feel like there was no pressure
None
from home.
whatsoever.
Can I ask you, did you enjoy school?
No. So primary school and secondary school, I didn't particularly enjoy. When I left, I was actually happy to leave. I wouldn't say I don't know why I was there. It was just something I attended because I had to attend. Just as you said, I couldn't stay at home. My mum would be like, get up and go to school.
Yeah.
Whether I was late or not, that wasn't a big deal either. It was just get up and go to school. And then it was people around me that I would hear talk about education or, their goals of getting good grades or what college they're going to go to. And that's who I learned from, really. It really wasn't from home, but it wasn't something I was missing either.
So you're saying that you learn from your peers,
Yeah, definitely.
like what you
Yeah.
wanted out of school, you were seeing within your friends.
Yep. And college, the same. Like, it would be like my cousin saying to me, go for A levels. You're smart enough. Go for A levels. And I was like, okay, then I will. That is literally how my education life went. My mum
Yeah.
didn't ever say, Yana, what do you want to do? What does your
Yeah.
future look like?
Yeah.
Maybe try this college, maybe try that college. And it wasn't that my mum wasn't interested. I think she just didn't know herself. And her parents being the Windrush or her mum coming from Windrush, I think her mum just provided for them. She worked, made sure they had a roof over their head. And my mum kind of brought us up the same way. But for me, I love how my mum raised us. in terms of
Mm,
we were just free to make our own choices, and she'll support us either way. There wasn't anything missing, but I know that I have siblings that needed that encouragement and needed that push. So they
yes.
felt the void.
Mm,
Yeah, but I didn't at all.
yeah.
And
I
me,
think there's very much a thing about, like, no one has the same parents.
1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah, like, you do not have the same parents as your siblings have, even though biologically, yes, the same,
Yeah.
but they're very different people. But it just really makes me think, 'cause the pressure wasn't put on me either, and that's something that I see as a good thing and
Yeah.
something that I try and take forward into my parenting. Because I think when you're saying they didn't sit you down and say, "Oh, have you thought about this college or that college, or what do you wanna do?"
Mhm.
I act that's a huge amount of pressure to put on someone that age, and, like, to me, it links into, like, that attitude of why I wanna homeschool. Like, I don't feel that children at certain ages need a level of pressure which is gonna result in anxiety put upon them. And I really do see that. Like, so, okay, so my homeschooling journey is literally just starting.
Mhm.
So we have so far been in the school system. My son is now 9
Yeah.
when we've withdrawn him. And it would be like those children that the parents put the pressure on are at a certain level. And my child without that pressure is on a different level.
Mhm.
And so I feel like people compare like my child is failing in some
Mhm,
way.
mhm, mhm.
Like me, my child is shining.
Yeah.
But its focus isn't purely on what results that can I get, because my parents are going to be really happy and this is how I put a smile on their face and this is maybe how I get congratulated. Like, he's able to then, to me, have these mind focuses just on growing,
Yeah.
like at the normal level for him.
Mhm. It's such a hard one, because I think it depends. So my mum, say for instance, me learning from my peers, my auntie had a big influence in my life, in my late, leaving school, between leaving school, finding your first job and all that. My auntie had such a big influence on that, but it wasn't pressure. It was literally, Yana, have you thought of doing this? Or Yana, do you want to do that? And then it sparked something in me. And I'm like, okay, but I'm still free
And
to do what I want to do. But there's a little bit of guidance. And I
and
think
it's a
that's
question.
important.
It's like a question and a conversation
That's it.
rather than, well, I suppose other things can be questions, but what are you going to be doing?
There's different levels to it. And what's funny is I'm the type of mom, I'm nothing like my mom. Even though I loved how I was raised, like I'm not
Mm,
faulting it. I loved having the freedom, but at the same time, I'm very much that pushy mom to a certain extent. I really am. And
yeah.
and I know because I've lived it and I've put
Mm,
especially my son through things. And it's not even a competition thing. It's more like we'll get into his journey, but it's more like they doubted you. And I know you can do it.
mm.
It came from that, but I learnt my lesson with that big time.
There are so many generations before us that were like, I learned from my parents and I'd be like my parents. And I think in a way, like, the world has changed to such an extreme amount, but also, like, this is a completely different subject. But
Mm.
I personally have huge issues with that boomer generation that our parents belong to.
Oh, okay.
Uh, but we're just like, yeah, we're not gonna do that. And I feel like a lot of it may have come from that freedom that they gave us.
True. That is true. And a lot of people have said to me, do you know little things that stay in your head? Some people would say, if you had the little push that you didn't get, you could be greater. Just little things. I don't know if that came out right, but they're saying like, I kind of, in my life, I had to learn a lot from my mistakes. There wasn't
Mm.
really anyone guiding me. I was,
But you can learn from how you don't want things to be more than how when things are how you want them.
yeah, yeah,
And then possibly if you can, you learn from other people's mistakes so you don't have to make those same mistakes.
that's it. But we
But
definitely learned the hard way. And I mean, it wasn't bad, but my mum's thing was let them go out there and learn. And if they get embarrassed, if this happens, where with my children now, I try to avoid all of that. I don't want them
yeah,
to be embarrassed. I don't want them to be shamed. I'm a solutions person that I try and avoid. I mean, if they go out there and they do whatever they do, but at least I've warned them before, if that makes sense. But I've
yeah,
realized I am that parent. I have learned a lot from my upbringing. I try to I don't know. I think I've had to, when we get into it, I've had to do a lot of protecting when it comes to my firstborn anyway. I think that we've been through.
maybe it's just you as a parent reacting to your child's needs,
Yes,
and that's all we are as we're only parents to our individual
that's
children.
so
It
true. That is it.
kind of, yeah, to have this whole shadow of, oh, I'm this kind of parent because this, and I feel like a lot of people do that,
Mhm.
and then they make choices and they have actions according to their parenting rather than according to the individual child.
Yeah, that is so true. Like there's obviously never a manual when you become a parent, but I didn't think too hard about, some of our friends know even before their child's born what school they want to send them to. Meaning
Yeah,
they're going to move into a certain area, they're going to go to a certain private school. That's how far ahead they thought. I wasn't that type of mum at all. It was like, I've got this baby and I'm going to get through every day. Like, love him. They're
no,
thinking way ahead, like how they want their child's future to be or whatever. But I wasn't never like that at all. But I was definitely thrown into that because now in his older years, I've got to kind of think or give him the options as well. But he definitely needs that guidance where my
mm,
other child doesn't at
yeah.
all. Like she knows what she wants, put it that way.
I just felt like I could see it in my children, very different
Very,
children.
very different.
And this is how I feel like when we acknowledge that children are so different, to then go, okay, I'm going to take you and I'm going to put you in with, I don't know, 28, 30 people your same age. And that's literally the only thing that you have in common,
Exactly.
possibly the area that you live, but a lot of the times not. How is that going to benefit them and shape them? Because I know personally, school definitely shaped me. It
Yeah.
did.
Yes.
It was such a big impact in my life. I see the difference between us is that I enjoyed school.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it on a social level, not an academic learning level, but on a social level, I did enjoy it. And it taught me being in that environment and being under the control of adults who I believe the majority of them had no right putting themselves in that situation. They had
Right.
no right being there. Like there were a couple that were great, but the
Mhm.
majority of teachers were shit.
Yeah.
And like for instance, we started to become friends because I was thought of as a disruptive child by some,
You
by
was thought
some.
of as a disruptive. Not the way you was. Not joking. Oh,
Well, I'll take that. You could say that because I think that I was sort of as disrupting you. And
No, I was literally lost. Just because I
okay,
didn't talk up, I was left. Literally, I was left. I was a
yeah,
quiet child. Well, I think I was quiet, right? I was left. No one ever thought this girl's struggling. Let's do this and this. That was later
yeah,
on. It was like, she's quiet. Let's get through the lesson. And that was it. I only enjoyed English. Everything else, there was no encouragement. Or, yeah, I was just one of
see,
the member of the class.
yeah. See, even as a friend of yours that was sitting like directly next to you in a kind of two to a table
Mhm.
situation, I don't, I didn't pick up on that, on
Really?
toughness. No,
Yeah, I was. And I just thought, be quiet, then no one would ever. I didn't do well in maths at all. I know you talk about maths class. I didn't do well in maths at all. I think I got a G or so in maths. I was
I
lost
don't even
all
know
them
what I got.
years. And imagine 5 years there, and no one knew what level I was at. And then they put me in the special class towards the end. Like, this
No,
girl's really struggling. There was
yeah,
no effort in teaching me.
no. And that's why I like one of the biggest things that, um, the reasons why I withdrew my child from school. And there wasn't just one, it was like there was major issues. And then that then led me down the thought of homeschooling. It changed from being like, oh my God, I can't have him here in the school system anymore to, wow, I'm really looking forward to like homeschooling. But so if we took that, like your example of maths, which is, I think, a relatively important subject in life. We need to be able to know that we're not getting ripped off. We need to know how to budget our lives to be able, it's got quite a big life impact.
Yeah.
And thinking of like the teacher that thought they had the right to put themselves in this situation that they can go and apply for a job in like a really uh culturally mixed class mix. Like it was like a melting pot, our school, of people from all different backgrounds.
Yeah, definitely.
But I would say my experience of said individual is that during those maths lessons, I wasn't able to concentrate on the subject. And you don't realize these things at the
Yeah.
time. I think I probably went into like a self-protecting mode against this adult,
Mhm.
because
Oh,
that's what was happening with me. She would be like, the situation would be the classes two to a table, all the classes are facing the front, and her desk is facing everyone. There's like a whiteboard, a blackboard behind.
mhm.
And maybe she might do a bit of talking, blah, 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 blah. Okay, now go off and do your work. And then she would maybe come around and be like, Ria, what are you doing? I don't know. Like, because I've never ever felt, as much as people have made me try to feel this in life, I've never felt shame in not knowing something.
Okay. So you would
Shame
talk
in,
up where I was the opposite.
yeah, I would just be like, I don't know. And then she would maybe in her monotone voice repeat what she had repeated that I didn't get in exactly the same way, in exactly the same tone of voice, which is really hard to take in because it's just like my mind would go,
Yeah.
and then just say the same thing, blah, 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 do you understand? And it's like, no. And then she would get frustrated at me and annoyed at me. And then she would maybe like walk off, kind of given up. And so, and this is one of the things that I came out of school learning the most. I would just start talking to the person next to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about social. It was social for me. And I would just turn chat, 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 maybe disrupting them from doing their work. And then she would get really annoyed and start shouting at me. And what she would do is she would scan the classroom and think, who can Bria not get on with?
Mhm.
Who can I not relate to? And she would move that person next to me. So someone else will come and I'll be like, you're right. And they'll be like, yeah, you're right. And I'll be like, chat, 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 chat.
It's
Right. And then, annoying again, like maybe, I don't know, I can't even think whether it was every week or every couple of weeks, someone, like, she would move that person. I would have made that bond and made that connection. And I remember having such lack of respect for this woman.
Yeah, yeah.
And I saw that she knew that I had no respect for her, but in a way that she couldn't pull me up on it. And I knew I would watch her scanning the room after shouting at me and getting really frustrated. I knew what was going through her mind. This, um, you know, rude, half black child from this upbringing. Who could she not relate to?
Mhm,
Let me next to that quiet Muslim boy,
mhm.
or let me put her next to that timid white girl, or whatever. Because you think I can't. But I can talk to pretty much anyone. I
Yeah,
might not,
yeah.
but I can find connection. And that to me is one of the skills that I hold most in my heart. And
Mm.
school taught me that in the wrong way, but it
Yeah,
it taught me
because
that.
it was so, like, multicultural, that school was.
Yeah,
So many different.
I'm thinking, apart from our form tutor, who was just an absolute disgrace of a
I know,
teacher,
bless them.
like, I actually can't think, or I remember there was like an IT teacher briefly, but I can't think of any other non-white teachers that I was.
Well, the drama teacher, and that's why everyone
Yeah,
liked her,
yeah,
definitely. Yeah, everyone speaks about her, but that's so important, so important. Yeah, because you cannot relate to these children. And just as I was saying, you just get lost in it. I just wanted to get through every lesson. And funny enough, the only lesson I say we all enjoyed as well, because the teacher was so enthusiastic, was English. Um, she was a really good teacher. But at
was.
the same time, when we were just talking and I was thinking about it, who I was sat next to, our mutual friend,
Mm,
probably helped me out more than the teacher.
it's true, yeah, yeah.
Again, like literally was caring
He
and
would,
said,
yeah, would, and he would enjoy. This is the thing, he would enjoy teaching
yeah,
you, and he would enjoy sharing knowledge.
exactly. Yeah. And that was this subject that I did really well in, and
Mm,
sociology as well. Just
mm,
about made enough GCSEs to do my A levels. So, I was more than capable, just nobody showed interest. And now I can really think back and reflect, because that is the difference between my son being schooled here and being schooled in the Caribbean, because I've done both of them. And the
mm,
education, when they say, oh, the education's better in the Caribbean, it's not, it's the
mhm.
same material, but the teaching is different. The teachers there care. That I don't know what your experience has been, but that was the difference with my son doing so well there, but being told
Mm.
he was 3, 4 years behind here.
I so I think maybe the difference in our experience, because that, to point out to listeners, that's another thing that Anna and I have in common is, born and bred Londoners, then deciding to actually go and move our lives to the Caribbean. You're currently back in the UK.
Yeah,
When you entered the school system in the Caribbean, I'm assuming that the teachers were a reflection of who the students were.
yeah,
Whereas I'm not going to say a mistake, but my child into what would be considered more of an international school.
yeah,
So really, this school is very much run by white people,
yeah,
which ended up being
exactly the same.
the same. The
Even
issue.
though you haven't had the experience here in the UK with him in school, but it's the same, right?
It was what I feel that I need to protect my child from.
Yeah. And
It's
that
like,
is why,
a safety issue that a lot of people will not understand
That's it.
because it's very subtle.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's just, it's subtle.
And that
But
is
they,
why I didn't choose a school in a certain area when I was in the Caribbean. You know, there's uptown international schools, but I think the same system happens if you look a certain way. If your children, you know, depending on who your parents are, those children will be favored. And I just thought, I ran from that here.
yeah,
Typical stereotypes, you know,
yeah,
and me and my husband are, we're normal working people. We're not famous or anything like that. So he could have easily been caught up in that system again. And I thought,
yeah,
that's what I'm running from. Why would I do that? So
yeah,
it was a local private school and he did brilliant. I was so nervous of him going, and this is my protection mode coming in. And he's telling me, Mom, I'm fine. But I'm just like, oh my gosh, I
mm,
need to make sure you're fine. And yeah, he just did amazingly well
wow,
academically,
yeah,
but socially, and probably the amount of pressure I put on him because of the, I wouldn't even say the damage, but the trauma that I went through here.
with him.
Yeah. And just triggers that I didn't want repeated again was how I reacted to things there, which wasn't good for him at all. But I learned the hard way with that. And yeah, we're still
Yeah.
learning.
So you've had a great experience in the Caribbean, which is amazing.
Mhm.
But I think in general, schools, in my experience, that I can only really say there's international school, which you could pretty much, they'll probably claim that they follow more of like an American system, but
Yes.
you know, they're English.
Yeah.
Um, and my experience of school is is not so safe for your health,
Mhm.
you know, your mental health. I think physical health in certain ways, but yeah, your mental health, because I find like if people want to go, oh, kids are suffering depression and, or even adults, depression, anxiety, all of this stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, of course they are. Literally, it's not like occasionally you put them in this situation. It's like 5 days a week, 7, 8 hours. These people that I have a big problem with,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to sit and, you know, have a cup of tea or a glass of wine with these people.
Mhm.
Why would I think it's okay that you have my child
Yeah.
and shaping and molding them as people for like that amount of time? And it's, yeah, it just feels like quite unsafe.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. And when I look back, I have a few regrets. So should I talk about my journey with him? Mm.
Yeah.
So I guess it started from nursery. So funny enough, maths was my worst subject in school. I say worse as I just, not even that I didn't get it, I just wasn't taught. So that was a subject that stood out because they always tell you, you need maths, it's important. You can't get a job, you can't do anything without it. So I actually went into finance, funny enough, but maybe that was me proving to myself that I can do it. That's my line of work. I've always worked. I was on maternity leave with my firstborn. I was off for a year, then I went straight back to work. And he went into nursery. Now, the first nursery we went to was really good, but it was in a desirable area, I should say. And it was just
Yeah.
really expensive.
So can we do this is in the UK.
This is in the UK, yeah. So this is my early years with him because we didn't move to the Caribbean until he was 11 because I said he's not in the secondary school system out here. So he's 1 year old. I've been on maternity for a year. I go back to work because I think that's what's expected of me. So I go back to work and he goes to this nursery, really good. I would say no, he did have a nice time there and he had a nursery nurse that was really invested in him. Even as a 1 year old, just seeing potential. And she will tell me like socially, he's not really mingling with the children, but she's noticing him. And she's going, look, I'm going to try this and I'm going to try that. And funny enough, I think she was an older African lady, if I can remember. But she really just took to him and nurtured him. But this nursery is very expensive. Literally, for 3 days a week, my part-time salary is paying for the nursery. So I'm like, I'm paying for a nursery to go to work. It just makes no sense. Literally, and I have no money left after. So me and his dad decided to change nurseries basically to a cheaper one. And that's when it just all went down. So we're in areas where I don't even like to call it ethnic minorities, but a lot of people from, foreign to England, those type of areas. And what I found with those nurseries, just personally, this is my own experience, is they were more business driven. It was the amount of children they can get in to make money, basically.
One.
So he ended up going 4 different nurseries, and it was like wasn't settled. Um, it looks like he was ignored throughout the day. So obviously mum guilt's kicking in now. So I left work for 6 months and stayed at home with him. This is the second nursery. Put him in about September, took him out and stayed at home between January and June. And then me and his dad said, all right, Yana, time to go back to work. So I went back to work, put him in the nursery now. And again, just the care, they have young girls in there that have probably just left school, looking after
Mm.
baby all day. So even though he was loved there and stuff, they were young. They didn't know how to
Yeah.
look after a baby So I
Yeah.
didn't feel very comfortable. And they did
I
see
like that. I had a friend that was like one of those nursery nurses, like young. And she was literally just like smoking shitloads of weed in the morning before she went in. And then like any break time, she would go and get high and like,
that's
which
it.
to me, the kind of thing that you do when you're X amount of years old and entering, say, into your first job. It's
That's
stuff
it.
like, it's like probably a reason why you shouldn't be employing this sector of people.
That's it. And this nursery was quite big because it had quite a few rooms. And the manager there was lovely. She was really nice, but you cannot physically keep track of everything going on. So I think he must have had a toilet accident and then they washed his pants in the toilet. And that was it for me. I think, yeah, you heard me
What,
right.
in the toilet bowl?
In the toilet bowl. And she told me as well. And I said, wait, what? And she was like, yeah, I just flushed it and washed the. And I just thought, okay, this is a lot.
Sorry.
I'm not
So,
paying for this. So I took him out again. And then
yeah.
he sent the last nurse, we sent him to the worst nursery ever. Um, yeah, and that still haunts me today, just how I can imagine how he was treated. But it's like your first child. I have forgiven myself for it, but for a long time I had guilt. Uh,
No,
just him being the test, my first child, he just kind of
like for that, yeah. But
getting
I think we've got to be kind to
we
ourselves.
do, but that guilt was like, it was just so unstable. And, it's just like you could have given up work, but you just thought working was the right thing to do. And just a lot of things.
And sorry to interrupt you, but I feel like, okay, I think you started off by saying that school life and such didn't, um, what was the phrase that you used? Like, it didn't much shape your decision to homeschool.
Yeah,
And I get that. That's your truth is your truth. But also, I think like all of these little things, like, are what the school system trains you up to
true.
be. It's
That's
not there
true.
to educate you. It's there to be, do you know what? You pop that baby out and back to work.
Mm.
And it trains such a way that people do things like spend the majority of their wages on the childcare. And I think they can be such different situations. If people say have a job that they feel really passionate about and they're like, well, I want to go to work, I want to do this, then that's a different situation to maybe someone who's like, well, I work because you work. But like when you're on that train and it's like you don't have that time to stop and even think on a basic level, because it is quite basic,
Yeah,
if you particularly want to go to work, you don't particularly enjoy being there, you would rather be with your child, but you go and work, and that the majority of that money is then handed over to pay these people that you're not happy paying to
that's
look
it.
after. I personally think that the school system is designed to get adults into that.
That's right. 1,000% I agree with you, but it's also people as well. Because why I say that is I remember when I took 6 months out to be at home with him, and people around me, I'm talking about my mum, my sister, "He needs the social life, send him, it will do him well," all of
But the
this. That had a
people, your
bigger
system,
impact. Yeah, people
but
are
there's
about the
and
system as well, but you know
really,
your child, and you
yeah.
know that naturally this isn't good, but obviously I'm the first time mum, and you kind of listen, but if I like you said, if I ha I think it's even strong enough to say, "No, this is not it," but I
I
agree with that later.
That's a first child thing, isn't it? Like I can sit here and I can kick myself for
Yeah.
the amount of times that I did not stick up for my child.
Yes.
Did I not stick up for him? I didn't stick up for me as a mother. I didn't stick up for us as mother and child.
And if
It's
I maybe
like,
if I thought even before having children, what type of mum would I wanna be? It all intertwines, isn't it? Because it's like, I
do you
didn't
think
think about it.
if do you think if you thought about what type of mum you wanted to be, then like to go back to what you were saying, you've got friends who are like, right, I'm going to move into this area because my child's going to go to this school because they're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, like my
Mm.
word, yours. But from what I can see about children who have grown up in that situation is there's very little seeing of the child.
Yeah.
Like that child may not even have been conceived yet. Like that child might not even been born yet, and the parents are going that this is back to the pressure.
Yeah.
And why I think it was so great that we both had these parents that
Yeah.
didn't pressure on us is that like when you don't think about what parent you're going to be, but you just are the parent because you are reacting to
Yeah.
your child. And it's both children of yours, and you're like, well, if I was that kind of parent, you could see quite clearly that that would have really worked maybe for that child, and I
Yes.
would have failed that child, or maybe I would have failed everyone, or maybe, you know, whatever. But I think this stuff, so much of it comes from school
Yeah.
and the training of your brain. Like I remember, you know, when you were at that stage, how old would you be? 13, and you have to pick a GCSE subject.
Mhm.
I remember sitting in assembly with the whole of our year and the head of year saying, this is the most important decision you will ever make in your life.
Mm.
What subject we're going to do. And I remember thinking, yeah, no, I don't think it is. I think
Mm.
whatever me, this decision here, right, isn't. And I'm so glad of my level of thinking because I know there were so many children in that assembly that took that anxiety.
Yeah, yeah.
And in life, you know, sometimes there are these moments that someone, you know, you were saying about your aunt having a conversation with you a certain way. It meant something and
Yeah.
it impacted you. It's like one conversation of like 2, 3, 5 minutes
Yeah.
has impacted you so much in life. Now, them saying these things to you can impact you so much in life.
Definitely. And what's so weird is in that area, like, am I sending him to nursery? I didn't think too much, but I did know some things like what my children will eat, not having so much junk food. I was very much on that, drinking water and having a healthier diet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was very
Yeah.
much on that. And obviously he has sickle cell as well, which changed everything for us. But in terms of his diet and stuff. So there were some areas where I did think, and I was strong on, like, my children, are not going to know McDonald's because I don't want them to,
Yeah.
things like that I was strict with. But the whole nursery, it was literally freestyling. But I always knew it didn't feel right though. But it was, yeah, like my mom and them saying, or if he wasn't very sociable, didn't like to be around children or whatever it was, everyone be like, nursery would be very good for him. And I think, well, nursery was not good for him at all.
And I think the fact is, like, although every child is individual, I'm not being opinionated about this. I'm being factually based about this. Children of a certain age need their parents,
Yeah,
not friends.
definitely.
Like if you see them playing, they play side by side.
Mhm.
They're not playing together.
True. So
Got your truck
true.
sitting here doing that, and you got your truck and you're sitting here doing that. They're not actually interacting. It's
True.
not the interaction that they want nor need.
True. That is so true. I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of the, and then I think though in these years that their brain is being shaped in a certain way, if you are able to get on with what you're doing and get on with your day, and you can look up and you can see that safety net, that person that is your parent, however that looks, then your anxiety stays down. You can concentrate on what you're doing. Whereas, like, I don't know, I feel like being in a room with X amount of children, it's not like they're having a party. It's not like, oh, I
Yeah.
had a great time with my mate today. It's it's not the level.
And not even that they want to go. Most of them are crying when you dropping them off as well, screaming, crying.
My child did go to a nursery when he was 2 part-time because I thought that he should be social.
Right. This is what they keep pushing. And it's
They
like,
keep
why is the child
and
fine? They're
like
not happy to go and give next one.
like, like, "No, just go. Just go." And it's
It's
like, "Okay, so what you're doing
attachment, isn't it?
is yeah, you're training me. As much as you're training them, you're training me to be detached from my child." And you don't think
So
that that's gonna
true.
have some sort of impact when we're not in the nursery, just at home, or we're just out and about doing things. You don't think that that has some sort of on our relationship? Of course it does.
It's so
But
true.
I would have, as a parent, gone, okay. Like, literally, I remember them going, "Oh, yeah, just go." Like, my child is crying and everything in my body, like, everything about me just wants to hold them and bring them in tight, and I'm being told, "Just go."
And the culture it's so much, and I didn't really realize because my daughter, when she went to my mum, I made sure my mum had her. So I stayed at home for a year and then I learned from my son. So I made sure my mum had her for the second year. So she didn't go to nursery until she was 2. And again, my mum was like, she needs to mingle now. She needs to be out. And for the first 5 months, no lie, maybe not 5, maybe 4 months, she cried every day for most of the day. She
Yeah.
did not settle at all. To the manager even said to me, "I don't know if we can do this anymore because she's just not settling." Now my child is traumatized when I'm looking back.
Mm.
She don't want to be there, you
No.
know? And it's
But
like, it's so true.
it's nothing that she needs.
And those children are always looked at as the bad ones or troublemakers. Like the ones that just go in, they're like, "Oh my
Yeah.
God, so good, so social." Like people talk positive of them. And
Yeah,
it's
very
really,
kind.
they're like, "Oh, they're too difficult or they're too
Yeah.
clingy," or
Yeah. And I think it's the absolute opposite. I think that a lot of the children who will just go are
be careful. Be
already
careful
in
with your words. I just, I just
a phase. They're already emotionally then detached.
okay.
They may have learned what would please their parent,
Right.
or they put what would please their parent before their own needs. And the reward is a smile
Mm.
or a happy parent.
Yeah.
Like, and they're so young to be having to deal with these emotional mind fuck games.
True. And then you can say that, yeah, again, some children are just, everyone is different as well.
They are.
Some children even though he didn't cry, my
Mhm.
son didn't cry. He didn't cry, but he was emotionally withdrawn,
Yeah.
meaning he was
You
quiet
know what?
all day.
You know what? When you need someone, you'll cry out. You cry out and you cry out. Because babies are very intelligent.
Yeah, they
Babies,
are.
they are very intelligent at mammal level.
Mhm.
So you cry and you cry and you cry. And the person
Yeah.
that you need to come, they don't come. So
Mhm.
you know what you do? You give up.
Mhm.
I think we not all do that in life, whether it's friendships, relationships, or whatever. But this is talking about a parent-child bond.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
No, it's
would
true.
kind of just give up. And that's like when you see people doing like that quiet out thing, sleep training.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, they screamed for the first couple of nights, and then they didn't. And it's like, oh, well done, your child's just given up.
Yeah, yeah.
Your child's just like in a room on their own, thinking, well, there's no point in crying because ain't no one
Yeah.
gonna come to me.
And what's funny is how they described him. So the second nursery that he went to, and remember I said I quit work and stayed at home for 6 months after that one because the manager again there said he needs you. She actually said he needs you. I don't think he's ready for nursery. So I was like, okay. So
That's
and
it.
that was nice of her, even though they were very cliquey, and I just think he was left. But
Mhm.
she did recognize that as he was
Yeah.
withdrawn. So he was at home with me. And then I think, as you said, when you're just used to something, come the third nursery, the one where they washed his pants in
Yeah.
the toilet, he played up a lot. He was doing things that was not my child. Like when they said he was headlocking the children, I said, "Are you sure?" Because
Yeah.
he was a totally different child at home. You could not tell me that that little boy was fighting and doing stuff. And now when I'm
Mhm.
looking back, he was literally just playing up. And then in the fourth nursery, his behavior got worse. But it was him lashing out to being in this environment that he doesn't want to be in. Me looking back now, when it's like, yeah, and then the
But
first
they don't realize it, do they? They'll just give them a
they
label.
they just they were horrible to him. And he has flashbacks now when he can describe the person, he can't remember the name, but he
Mm.
described the person and what they would do.
And now he is how old?
He's 16 now.
Mm.
Yeah, he's 16, and he would say, "I remember her," and describe. So I know he's not lying.
Mhm.
Yeah, things like knocking him in the toilet and making him cry until he falls asleep.
Yeah.
Things like that, like horrible things that I did not know. They keep records of your children as well that you're not aware of.
Oh, and also it's just like so such a thing like with me bringing my child out of school is that it got to the point that the school was so bad, certain things were so bad by these adults. The school was run by adults. It was so bad, and I could see it. I could clearly see it, and then I had to say, do you know what? What you're seeing is so bad. You have to take your child out of this school.
But they have a
Imagine
way.
when you're not there.
Yeah, that's
Because
it.
that's not how people work.
But
They
they
will
have a way of making you feel like it's you and not them. When I look back, it's like how he behaves or how he's reacting to things is what's going on at home. And that's
at
where
home.
my trust in the system went down because it was like,
Right.
if I
Not
make
safe.
a complaint, nobody wants to hear it because they just want to get on with it. And I'm talking about complaining to, well, not even complaining, raising a red flag to the council, and the
Mhm.
council's gaslighting you. Like,
Yeah.
not them, it's you.
Because the whole system, like this is the thing, is people will sit around and they'll be like, they'll choose to see individual things, individual problems and go, oh yeah, that's not quite working. But it's just completely gaslighting you to the fact that it
Yeah,
is working perfectly to
yeah,
what they want it to be.
that's right.
And once I find as a parent, because you know what? You can kind of not see things. And again, I bring this back to first time
Mhm.
parent. you could kind of not see things because you don't know how to handle it. You don't know how to react. It just all seems a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
And this is where I struggle with myself when I think all certain things that my first child was put through that I kind of have grown that my second child wouldn't even be exposed to. As a parent, when your eyes are open to this,
Mm.
there's plenty of parents' eyes are closed, whether that's choice or not. You are forced to do this, like
Yeah.
to change whatever situation. And if you feel like it's a change of school, because
Yeah.
if you feel it's a school, or if you feel like it's just schools or whatever, you have to make
That's
some sort
it.
of
Because from that last nursery to his first school at reception, that's how I knew they shared things amongst each other that I wasn't aware of. So the
officially or like just having chats.
reports that they kept on him that I was never brought to my attention, things that he would do there or things he would say, didn't have any knowledge of it while he was there, but they were happy to share it with the school. And it was literally a backup of the school making their
But
point about him. And the thing is, if there were things there, you're not thinking of the best interest of the child or a solution here. You just have an agenda and you want to push that onto us. And at that point, I did get strong in terms of decisions that I want for my child. And he went to that school, started in September, by November, he was out. And I
mm,
just took him out and said, I'll keep my child at home because I'm not, they used to call me at work and say, come and get him because we're not putting up with his behavior. And he's a little 4-year-old. And
yeah,
it's interesting for what you said because you're so right. He really went into, he had to defend himself with adults and he was fearless. He
it's
didn't care.
cool.
And
It's
he's 4
cool.
and top of
Yeah,
small, he's smaller, one of the smaller children. So at this time, he's probably looking like a 3-year-old. And he's got
and
head to head with
what
the teacher.
what they think as disruptive, because this was like I'm feeling like what you're saying to
Mm.
like how I felt at school. Thank God that he rebelled.
Yeah, he
Thank
did.
God he stuck up for himself, because what is the other option?
Yeah, it's true.
Believe we're saying about you and to believe what you're being. And I constantly, throughout life, that disruptor and that person who is just like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not having it. They're
That's
the
it.
ones, they're the successful ones. Now they may not be making the most money. They may not have the biggest house. They may not. But to me, when I say what is success to me, what success do I want for my children, especially them being Black children?
Yeah.
Like, I do not want you believing they are superior,
Yeah.
because that's the game. They will try so hard to make you think you are below them.
That's it. And I think naturally as well, like you cannot tell me there isn't, just the way they would look, young Black boys especially, like, oh, this is normal behavior for them. And there's no meaning if they're seeing the child as disruptive, it's like it's normal. We expect it. And I remember a TA saying to me, by far, he is not the worst child in the class. But it's like she could only say so much. And she's like, there's other children that are
And
more challenging, but he's just the easy target,
yeah,
And I remember her saying that. And that's what, yeah, it was just a
it,
light bulb in
that
my head as,
yeah, because like what am I going? I'm gonna physically take my child and give them to you.
and I remember one time they starved him as well. They didn't give him any lunch. They just gave him crackers and told me after. And I thought, what wicked people. So my
Why would you
child,
do that, like punishment?
I think it was a punishment. Yeah, it was a punishment. The school was just disgusting. They really were, because I remember even one day he tried his hardest to be good. that day or whatever it is, or like behave or whatever it is. And I just remember walking up to the class every day. I dreaded it because I knew they'll pull me aside. And then they're doing it in the playground in front of all the parents. Like, Mum, we need to have a word. And it's just like they
Yeah.
get a kick out of it. This is what I thought. And I remember him being in
But
tears.
they're trained. They're
Yeah,
trained.
they're just
Like, when I say they're trained, they're not in there when they're studying and doing whatever they need to do to get the qualifications to go to. It's not like, okay, so you need to learn how to do this. They are just, their brain is trained.
yeah.
Brain is trained to think that you are inferior. Their brain is trained to be like, but as long as we like have that young black boy as the scapegoat, then we can,
Literally, that is what it is.
our children will shine. It's that thing of like, you need my child to be down there at the bottom. So your child, and why, when I say your child, I'm not even saying like biologically your child or whatever your child, but you maybe as white people, you need white people to shine, to keep this, to keep the system going. You need it. And you don't even realize you're doing it.
Yeah.
Because what is your system if it's
Yeah.
not from taking and abusing other people? Because to me, it's so clear being in the Caribbean, like where it's so blatantly so. It's like you need them local people to be so down, and
Yeah.
that way you can rise.
1,000%. That is it. And this
And
particular day, I remember him going back to what I was saying. I remember him saying, Mummy, I was good today. And they did not even acknowledge him. They were excited to tell me that he's messed up again. And he cried all the way home like he was broken. I said, I'm not doing this no more. So both me and his dad just decided he can stay home because I was actually on maternity leave for a year or going on maternity leave because my daughter was born in the November. And I just took him out and totally different child at home, calm, just a child. But,
yeah,
you know, yeah. And I just remember the education because I didn't even tell them, I just took him out. And I remember the education office come into the house unannounced. But I thought I have nothing to hide because I could have told her you cannot come in. I thought I have nothing to hide. Come in. And she came in and I remember them going, oh, this is nice. And I was thinking, what was you expecting to see?
yeah.
Or what
So,
everyone is not homely. And I remember him upstairs playing. And then they said, oh, can we see him? So he came downstairs and he was just playing, just being his normal self. And they had nothing to go on. Nothing
yeah,
at all to go on. Two of them turned up at the house, like a surprise visit or whatever. But everything they were trying to find, they could have never found it in me because
mm,
paper, they made it out like this child is disrupt. I cried when I saw the paper. I demanded that paper from the nursery, the one that I said, the report that they wrote on him. If anyone else would read that, you would think my child was an abused child.
yeah,
How they wrote that. And if you thought that way, was I
yeah.
never investigated? Why
Yeah.
didn't you guys ever take things further? Because they were hiding stuff because they were abusing the children.
Well, that's typical behavior of an abuser.
Well,
Is like
well,
they abuse and then they go around pointing out that other people are abusers, almost like they're talking about themselves.
that makes so much sense.
And it don't matter if it's, you know,
And I remember
domestic
even going to
violence.
Ofsted,
But,
to report them. Nothing.
mm,
Even
nothing.
I think I even said,
Right,
"Oh,
because
look."
they don't want to know. Like I think to a point by doing that is like you think that you're gonna tell them something that they don't know.
Right.
They they would be there and they'll be going, oh yeah, again. They're probably having a little laugh about it. It's that power trip of they know that they can do
And
fuck
that's
all.
just a disgusting system. So when he went on, so I had him at home for a year. And then the council kept writing to me, like saying, what school is he going to go into? And then they put him in a school and said, if I refuse it, he's never going back to, like, he won't ever get a place. And I thought, I don't care. I'll keep my child at home forever. Like, you're not going to try and threaten me with that.
And
But they
educate.
say these
Right.
things to scare off parents, don't they? So the school that I went to visit the school, and the head teacher's attitude, I said, nah, what, my son is not going here. I don't care if this is the last chance or whatever it is. That's when I really started believing my choices for my child. Not even believing, but really taking my own opinion when it came to my child. And I said, no, refuse the school.
How old is he now?
So he is still, well, no, he's 5 now. So he's still reception age. So they're talking about him going into year 1. And then all of a sudden another school comes up. Because remember they said to me, that's it. If I refuse this school, that's it. Well, I don't care. I'm not going to send my son, because it seemed like she was prejudging me.
But the other school probably came up because they made a threat to you, which is probably highly illegal. So they were covering their own back. Because if you turn around and went, okay, well, I'm never going to apply for another school again. And then when they come knocking at the door saying what's going on with your child, you'd be like, well, I want them to be in school, but they can't because I turned this down.
Because I refused to send him.
In the shit.
That's it. That's it. And this head teacher, yeah, I just remember going in there and feeling like you're judging me. And I remember I was with him as well, and he just stood in the corner. He could also feel the energy there. Like he didn't want to interact. Like he just went funny. And I was like, no, this is not for us. So anyway, this other school came up, and I was just thinking, okay, I'm going to go look anyway, but I've already made up my mind. He's staying at home. And what I liked about this school, but again, when you look back, because even his dad says it today, it's a strategy. So they're thinking, this is not going to work on this mum. We're going to take another approach. Now, that's what I believe happened. But then this head teacher grew up in the Caribbean. I think she went to school and she remembers again, was that a lie? I don't know. But she went to St. Lucia. So she was I think she was mixed race, I think. So there's a certain, not sympathy, but warmness or whatever it was. So anyway, I went and I visited her. And first of all, because I'm traumatized about everything they've told me about my child, I've just laid it out on the table. But she stopped me when I said, look, this is what's, she was like, I'm going to stop you there. I don't want to hear about his past or what has happened. We'll judge from fresh page, basically. Let's start afresh. That was her approach for me. And straight away, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I like. Give him a chance. Don't be judging about what the nursery has said or what the other school has said and whatever. So I don't know if it's because that head teacher came from that background or whatever it was, but I felt straight away, I felt comfortable. And then while I'm talking to the head teacher, they put him in the class as well. And I go and I look at him in the class and he looks settled.
Okay, nice.
So I was like, okay, I think this is the one. And that school was good for him, not academically though. It was socially. I will give them that. And he was like, they tailored it to what he needed, because children were thriving academically in the school, but he needed to feel safe first.
Yeah.
And funny enough, the I don't know if you call it educational psychologist, I don't know what you call her in the school. She always reassured me, because I was very aware, because of nursery, I was very aware of him being very different in that setting to how he is at home. So I would never be surprised. Like, that doesn't sound like my son. It was like, why is he acting this way? And she would always reassure me and say, home is where he feels safe and where he feels loved. So he's going to be a different person at home to being in this environment. So she always made me look at it in another way, because I'm like, is this child calculated? Why is he acting up when he's there and then he's not the perfect child at?
She's not only caring for the child, she's caring for also the parent and also the child-parent bond, like understanding that it's all really important, whereas the other stuff feels really divisive. Like they were just out to destroy and taking any route.
For the first time, I was being heard. For the first time, they were telling me, Mum, we know you're a good mum. And the teacher, his favorite teacher actually, always said, you're an amazing mum. Always said that to me. So it was like, reassure me. He only had one bad experience with one teacher at that school, and I hate the fact that I've never stuck up for him. But at this time, I was kind of tired about all the complaints. And even though his behavior was getting bad, there were still challenges with him. And yeah, there was a time when I really resented him. Like,
Mm,
you a problem child. And he would say it to me. He would say, Mummy, you give me this look. And I
mm,
wasn't long. And I'm talking about a 6-year-old at this point. And that took me years to get rid of that guilt.
yeah,
Took me years, Bria. It was like, oh my God, I felt like shit. But
yeah,
it
it
took
got
me
more
years.
head.
My auntie kept saying to me, Yanni, you have to forgive yourself because
Yeah,
you're doing the best you can for him. And it's
I
emotional.
also acknowledge that they done that.
That's what it is. But still, he's my baby,
Yes,
and it's
but it's
about
not,
him feeling safe at home.
yeah, and I completely agree with you. But I think, like, I would literally, when I'm hearing everything you're saying about like the first experiences,
Yeah.
it's like abusive.
Yeah.
And I think that when people are being abused,
Yeah.
it wasn't just your son, it was also you.
Yeah. True.
And it works in just so many different ways. I think the goal of it is to make people believe that they deserve it and they are to blame, like they did it.
It's so true, It's so true because I'm like, through his toddler years, even during nursery, so close to him. My little baby sent to my bed. We was always hugging. We was always laughing and just always laughing. And so, like, when I think back, I'm just like, oh my gosh, what a horrible time. And I remember my dad saying his experience at school isn't nice. Do not make his home life be the same. And no matter how much my dad said it, it was how I reacted to him. It was like he would get up in the morning and he's always smiling, and he's just happy to see a new day. And I'd be like, oh, go and have your breakfast or go and eat it. And I spoke to him in this tone, like this
Yeah.
irritated tone. And you just think, oh my gosh, he's so young, so
And I think
young.
that's the thing. And I think that also it can be like when you're feeling like that,
Yeah.
then it's like, yeah, do you know what? I do want to go to work.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do want to have a break, which are, yeah, we all need breaks. We need to earn money. We need to kind of like, do all these things. But from what I can hear, like speaking to a number of people over the years
Mhm.
of like all different kinds of experiences, it's like, well, yeah, it's so stressful going to work. Like this is like the day is just go, 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 go. And I just seem to never get any time, never stop. But you know what? I get a break when I go to work, or I get,
Mhm.
and it's like, again, designed.
That's it. Because I did actually quit work. So in year 1, year 2, he had really good time at school. Year 3, he got this teacher, I think this teacher, and she was only like it's a year's contract. She was the worst. She was horrible. And a lot of
Mm,
times I picked him up and he'd wet himself. Like she would humiliate him, know how
mm,
to trigger him and have him just crying and having a breakdown in school, basically. And I remember just being in that zone of, oh, this again. And then he's getting that treatment as we're going home because I'm annoyed that this has happened. It's a little sticking up for him. And I remember in year 4, I said, okay, I'm quitting work again. And I quit work for 3 years and said, I'm literally just going to focus on him, focus on being at home. I was studying as well, to be honest, to do something. But I just remember that. And I remember though from year 4, it
yeah,
just got better with him and me just being there, not rushing. Like if they have school plays and stuff, like I always turn up for those things anyway, but it's that rushing or that
yeah,
being absent minded then. And
yeah. And then you wind up agitated,
there you
and it's
go.
like, with more within school, because I would say, like, for me, I would automatically become a lot calmer on the weekend. But it would be like, yeah, this agitatedness at them, like that you have to meet these things. And I feel such a shame about it, but it could be like when something else goes wrong, which can just be random, I could trace back to somehow make it my son's fault.
Right. That's
Oh,
it. Yeah.
he's like, well, if you've done this and you've done this and you've done this before, and sometimes I could find myself letting him know this.
Yeah.
It's like, you've done nothing, so you're not to blame in any way, and I am that person to you that is meant to be taking care and teaching you that safe space.
That's it. That is
And
it.
everything seems to just be taking this away from us.
It's so true. That safe space is so true. Yeah. So when I quit work and stayed at home, I definitely saw the benefits of it. And then it was time for, I think I went back to work, got part time. And he's a little older now. I think that was his last year in school, primary school. And then COVID hit as well. And then I decided, I just knew I am not sending my child to secondary school, no matter what anyone says to me, because the early years I listened to opinions of loved ones there, like, he needs this and he needs that. Well, I'm just like, I know my child now and I know
Yeah.
exactly what's going to happen. We have worked so hard yeah. So, yeah, I knew I wasn't sending him to secondary school here in England, or he was going to be homeschooled, or we were going to move out the area. I just already made that decision because I wasn't listening. I knew my child and he wasn't going to be a statistic. I knew he was very much at high risk in being labeled and sent down the route that they want all most young Black boys to go down. He was a perfect example of it in the
Yeah.
system here. On top of that, I knew a lot of things didn't add up because he did Turin, he did Kumon, and I worked very hard with him at home. So when they were telling me he was 3 years behind expected age in certain subjects, I was thinking, no, he is not, because I am
Yeah.
working with him at home. My son is an exceptional reader because I've been reading with him since he was a baby. Before he could even walk, we would sit and read every single night. I learned basic maths through my child because I'm sitting there doing the work with him.
Yeah.
I learned. And I
Yeah.
remember I couldn't even tell him I didn't know certain things. I would say to him, give me a minute, but I'm Googling how to work
Yeah.
things out. I'm working with my child every single day. So through all of this, I'm putting a lot of work in at home. And you're going to tell me my son is not capable. But what I did learn, so COVID hit now, and it was always a knock. Like we're moving 10 steps forward. He's doing amazing, but it's always not quite good enough. And I'm
Yeah.
like, nah, this ain't right. So COVID hit now. School was closed now, March 2020. And he's homeschooled again. So they're learning at home. So I can now see everything that's going on. I can see the material that he's doing. And it was his confidence. So I'm thinking, I remember I've gone back to work now in the last year.
Mm.
I've now gone back to work. And I'm thinking, my son has no confidence. He doesn't even want to try because he's embarrassed or he feels he cannot do it. And what I realized as well is he's got friends from the school. And, sometimes you meet up with friends or birthday parties. And I realized he was always shut down by his friends and these children are in his class. So how is it
Mm.
at school when he has an opinion or he has something to say and everyone's like, oh, you don't
Yeah.
know. You don't know because you don't
Yeah.
understand.
It's what you were saying before about like giving like English as an example of like you weren't quite getting it from the teacher, but then your peer would boost you up and show you the way. It sounds like your son's just getting it all
That's
directions.
right. Or that image or perspective of him is it's so
Yeah,
if
that
he has an opinion, no one's taking him serious. If he has an answer to something, it's like, it's not quite right, but well done, And I remember he kept saying, like, my teacher says it's okay to fail. It depends on it's like he was saying, it's
Well,
okay for me to
that's
not know.
yeah, it's like a suggestion. Why don't you just fail here? Like,
Or it's okay for you to be wrong all the time, or whatever it was. And I just didn't like it.
it's the words, isn't it?
It's the
Like,
words.
like the fail, like, let me drum it into your head that you are a failure,
There you go.
and then you give up.
That's
And
right.
then it turns out that I was right all along because I said you were troublesome. I said you were a failure. I said that you wouldn't make it.
That is
And
it.
it makes me also think about this thing that everyone always says, and it's literally the first thing that I find will come out of people's mouths when you say, okay, we're going into homeschooling. And they're
Yeah.
like, but what about the social aspect? Who the
Yes.
fuck are you socializing with?
Right.
Like, is this friendship? Is it? Like, is that what it is? Because you're not able to be the self that I know you are
That's
when you're
right.
happy.
That's
And
right.
so, like, oh, what you suggest that, like, should my child go and socialize with these children? That I will say to stick up for those children that I don't particularly want my child to be friends with. They are also just a victim of the system as well,
And
and they
there's
don't
many
know.
different ways children socialize. Well, number one, I have a massive family. I have a
Yeah,
massive family, so he's always at family parties and functions and stuff like that. So that's always the first thing. Oh, he needs to know how to interact and, be around his peers. But on one hand, he learned how to play nicely, make friends and stuff like that. Because when he was younger, he didn't know how to play with children. I admit that. He could more, not even relate, but be around adults. I'm talking about those early years, 4 to 6. So afterwards, like making friends and stuff was quite easy. That's what that school did. But his confidence was down. He's afraid to say it to look stupid or get a reaction from us like, you don't know that. It's the embarrassment thing, isn't it?
do you know what? I was sitting there thinking to myself this week, I'm going to record a whole episode on this. You don't know that,
Yeah.
right? Because I used to hear this all the time from people when they would be talking to me. So they would say, oh, they'll be talking about a subject, blah, 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 blah on the subject. Like, and I'd be like, no, I don't know.
That's right.
And
And it's
you don't know that.
no, I
And it's
don't.
like, I don't know that. But do you know what? I just said that I don't know that. So why don't you explain that so I know that?
Right.
But it's like this designed to, do you feel better about yourself now? You just had to put me down. You just had to prove to yourself that you're above me and I'm below you. Because trust me, there are many things in life that I know and you don't.
You don't.
But if you
Right.
don't know that, I'm going to say, what can I tell you about it? I'm not going to go, you don't know that? What do you mean you don't know that? Come on, you must know that.
Yeah.
You don't know. And it's like, again, you're just making yourself feel superior by simply putting other people down.
That's right. That's
It's
right.
all little things like that. I'm just like, do you know what? Fuck it. We're not like that as a family. My child does not have to be exposed to this shit. Me,
Mm.
surround him by security and love and, all the compassion that he needs because he is going to get older
Yeah.
and he's going to go out there into the real world and people are going to be saying shit like that to them.
Yeah.
And he'll be think, well, maybe it's not me. Maybe it's like you don't know how to communicate. Like you literally don't know how to communicate. You don't know how to have a conversation.
Yeah.
You don't share information.
That's it.
Sorry.
And it's
And
okay. No, it's true, but it's okay to not. And funny enough, so when my children were young, they used to ask me questions. I did used to secretly, I wouldn't tell them that I wouldn't know. I didn't
yeah.
know. So I would secretly Google. But as they got older and we would have conversations, and they read one of my diaries when I was 9. I remember having it when we moved home. And I remember them reading it, and it was like, "Mommy, you're onto us, and you couldn't even spell at 9." So we laugh about these things. Go, I
Yeah.
say, "Of course," and I'm glad you lot can see that because that's why I push you in certain things, and you guys are way more clever than I was at your age, and just to put that
But
confidence
right now, you can now. So you might not have been able to do those. It doesn't mean that you can never do them.
exactly,
And then I think one of the things that I know that you're saying that you would like secretly Google me stuff,
yeah,
but I really enjoy uh like having conversations with my children on a level of, well, I don't know that either. So let's figure it out.
yeah.
Like,
I think why I took that approach when they, and I say they because my daughter would be around it, but mainly my son, why I took that approach with not letting him know is because he just didn't have a good relationship because of what he was going through. I would say from 4 to 10 or even 6 to 10 in those years, he didn't have a very good experience or relationship with learning. So I had to use, just so he can come to me and ask me
Yeah.
anything and me getting involved in his work. He wasn't he wasn't old enough, or we just couldn't have those type of conversations back then.
Yes.
It was getting him in love with
Knowledge
learning.
person.
Yeah,
Like I learn something and I can go to that person and I can ask them and they can help me.
that's
And
it. Now they're
yeah,
fully aware. Like I always tell them, you guys are teaching me. And even when he was older, I said, I learned basic maths through you. And he was like, what? It's like, yeah,
yeah,
I really learned through you and us doing it together.
yeah. And I think that's such a beautiful conversation to have because
Mhm.
it's just great. Learning can be done in all different ways at all different points, and
That's
it's
it.
adapted to my life. Like me as a mum, I learnt maths as a mum.
That's right.
Like I might not have learnt it in the classroom, might not have learnt it, say at work. Like this is the way I learnt it.
That's it.
And if you give them that information, everything in life you can learn from.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So where was I? At COVID now. So I'm seeing my son can do this because he can do manual calculations. So good. Even if the test paper says use a calculator, he'll just work it out manually. That's how sharp his brain is.
Yeah.
That's way sharper than mine. And I'm like, no, this is not right because I know I've done this work with you before. And it was confidence. And when he was working with me, he was getting it. And then we literally went back to basics, subtracting and division. We just went back to basics. And I'm like, you can do it. You can do it. And then I remember speaking with his teacher, like the last teacher meeting. And I was basically saying to her, I've gone back to basics with him now to build up his confidence and stuff. And she was like, I get it. But it was like, on one hand, on paper, they're saying he's not capable, he's struggling. Then when I'm talking to them, saying he's fully capable,
But
and
that's what was the conversation is you saying, I'm aware of his level.
this is
So
it.
they tried it,
They
but then you came
tried it.
back to think that they're like, okay, if she continues like this, she's going to catch me out. So let me
There
just
you
change.
go. 1,000%, Bria. This is why I know the system is just messed up because even with the nurseries, they were like, we know he's going to be brilliant. We know he's got good luck on his journeys. And they're saying this to me off record, and
Right.
that's exactly what his teacher said. He can be amazing. So you've seen that in him, but you keep killing his confidence.
Again, it's not the problem of the system. The system is working perfectly.
Just as it's supposed to. So I knew at that time I'd made the right decision to take him out of
Yeah.
the country. And I took him out and I was nervous, as I said. So we left in the September and I put him in school over there.
There are so many gems within what Ayana has to say. Our conversation actually went on for 2.5 hours. So Ayana and I thought that it's best to make this into a two-parter. And this seems like a natural time to take a pause. I really want to thank Ayana so far for all that she's shared. And I'm feeling really grateful for her. I'm personally so thankful that I have Ayana to talk to as someone who has just entered homeschooling, to talk to someone who's been through the whole system is absolutely priceless. And I really appreciate the time that she's taken to share her story. Part 2 is full of wisdom of how she goes on to educate her children in the Caribbean and then back in the UK. And it's definitely worth hearing the end of this story of how they ended up in such an amazing place. So when you're ready, please head over to part 2 of this episode. Thanks for listening.